I'm up on the Sam Merrell Upper Trail, not that far up from Echo Mountain. I'm gonna run up using this, run down using this, and then I'm gonna set up the tripod, I think, in 2 different spots. And I'm gonna do this all in about 10 to 15 minutes, so that way I can get down. The first thing that I noticed was that going uphill, I'm going slower in sandals, especially on the rocky parts. This part slowed me down, and then there was a bit of a transition to a faster gait around the corner. Coming back down it, it's the same thing. I actually had to slow down even more because I had to figure out my footing. So what I'm realizing with the sandals from the very beginning is that it takes a little bit of time to get used to the trail, stepping from rocks to sand. If you take a look at the way that I'm running, there's almost like a slowness. It looks like I'm walking when I'm actually trying to run, and I'm just figuring out how to actually move instead of like just charge up the hill like I'm used to in shoes. That comes to my next observation, which is what I call threading a path. Choosing where to put my foot becomes much more explicit. Like, I just can't run down the path, can't run up the path. I got to think about where am I placing my foot so that way I don't slip on these rocks. I thought that sandals would have more stability, and they do give me more foot control, but they don't allow me so much leeway in terms of just like, I don't have to think about where I'm putting my foot so much. Another interesting thing that I noticed, my lateral movements increased. I'm moving side to side, doing side lunging almost, and it's a little bit more tiring than just coming straight up the hill. So I think I hit the second section that I want to do, because it's legit like a good up and down, ugly rocks. See where it goes. My last observation is a reflection, because I recorded this video before I did anything else. And now after a few months, I'll say this. What's the difference between rocky versus a rock garden? So a rock garden is much more intense than the trail that I'm running right here. Even though it looks like I'm struggling a little bit and that my feet are constantly dealing with a lot of different types of rock and bigger sizes and larger chunks, it's actually not that bad. It's actually pretty manageable because I have a lot more places to place my feet on softer sand. So as you can see, even the transition and there's larger things to step on, I can avoid those much easier. Going up, going down, I'm not so much worried about slipping. And one thing I realized is rocks on a sandy trail don't feel as bad as when it's rocks on a rocky trail, like where there's rocks on tops of rocks on tops of rocks. Almost like what you see right here, which is what I'm avoiding. So this trail is actually not as intense as I thought it was after having to do successive rock gardens in all the different races. And that is a very humbling lesson for why I think doing sandal running is challenging the more you do it. I think it was a success. The paths got easier as I did it, but I noticed the more tired I got, the wider my feet got. So I'm going to debrief and take a look, and hopefully this is the first tutorial of many of sandal running up on trails. Feels good.